What's up, tankers? Let's get our teeth into the best scouts and raiders on tracks, or wheels. That's right, light tanks. To get the most from these nippy little vehicles, you'll need to practice and to brush up on view range and concealment. Not long ago, we did some videos about those, so check them out if you need to. The links are in the description. Lights are often quick and tricky to spot, and they can have high-caliber howitzers or even autocannons. Low-tier lights don't have rolls, and calling them scouts would be a stretch. They're versatile, and their characteristics can vary a lot, and so can their armor. You can fight in them like a medium or sometimes even a heavy tank. From about Tier 5 or 6 upward, that's no longer the case. At that point, you start getting some real niche specialists. They're raiders and scouts that spot for teammates. Lights also gain a shared trait. They can move without it affecting their concealment. Whether standing or moving, you still won't get spotted before the same distance. This vehicle class only has 2 roles: tracked versatile light tanks and wheeled ones. First, let's deal with the Old Faithful, and then later we'll get to the wheeled lights and how they differ from their tracked classmates. Light tank gameplay depends less on the role and more on your own playstyle. Think of it in terms of passive and active. Passive players settle in and capitalize on their concealment. Active ones monopolize the map with their movement. Any light tank can play both ways. You can set yours for either passive, active, or somewhere in between. So how do you prepare a scout for battle? First, a lick of paint. Any camo on a vehicle's hull boosts its permanent concealment bonus, which is vital for a light tank. The more, the better. Train crew perks that improve view range and concealment. Keep your radio operator on your radar. They have a few good perks that are very handy for light tanks. More perks than slots, in fact, so choose wisely. As for consumables, food ones will pad you out in all the right areas: view range, concealment, and firepower. Equipment can improve your scouting ability, making you harder to spot or boost your firepower. Mix and match to suit your playstyle. A good scout will want coated optics and commander's vision system mounted. For passive spotting or for mid-tier lights, consider binocular telescope. If you want a ninja on tracks, then mount low-noise exhaust system. If you also want to focus on shooting, consider something like a rammer or stabilizer. Improved ventilation gives you a little all-round boost. In place of turbocharger, you can equip the mobility improvement system respectively to bolster your ride that bit more. Make sure you research field modifications to build up 2 loadouts for different maps. For example, the first would have coated optics, commander's vision system, and low-noise exhaust, and the second would have ventilation, stabilizer, and gun rammer. That way you'll feel right at home, whether you're playing on Prokhorovka or Himmelsdorf. Phew! We've finally set up our dream light tank and are eager to head into battle. But what should you do in battle? How can you contribute? First, look at how many other lights are in your team and where they're headed. Scouts should spread out across different positions and even flanks. In the first minutes of battle, do some initial spotting for your team. Your teammates will really appreciate knowing how many opponents are on whichever flank. To spot enemy vehicles, you need to quickly get to a place that lets you see their approach route. To do that, you need to know the maps and remember the routes tanks take. It's safest to spot from bushes, but I came, I saw, I fled tactics can work too. That way, you'll likely get spotted. Just the time to remember how to rally drive. Then you can find a bush and spot from there. It's safer. If necessary, move from bush to bush, approaching or fleeing if there's danger. A moving light tank's non-reducing concealment comes in really handy for those short bursts. When you approach bushes, don't forget the proximity spotting circle. If you want to scout, you need to know about this. So how do we know where's the best to spot from? Look at where your teams and the enemy's light tanks are located, and remember the positions. For example, on steps, it's usually best to take a central position. On Lakeville, you should be on the central line or near the town. On mines, the bushes, both on the hill and in the water, are best. On Prokhorovka, you want the line of bushes on the alley or the hill if your team has enough lights on the alley. On Outpost, head for the bushes in the middle of the lake. Those are just a few of the well-known bushes, but all these maps offer light tanks plenty of ways to play. Commit good positions to memory and get experimenting. Don't forget, a felled tree is as good as a bush. And you can fell them yourself with HE shells. Remember that the thorn in a light tank's side is another light tank. You can throw a spanner in the enemy's scouting works by spotting them and destroying them. And you can stop them doing the same to you. Remember where you've seen enemy light tanks and think about how to beat them. Pure scouting is only an option on open maps. In urban locations without bushes, you'll have to come to the aid of mediums, dodge the enemy, and cause damage. Lights with autoloaders or autocannons are great at this. You can't go wrong with big damage in a short time. Although lights are very vulnerable, they can trade hits too, but carefully and with immaculate timing. If you're hiding in the bushes spotting, think before letting that gun rip. Firing drops your concealment to scary lows. Make sure you have a strong exit strategy. As promised, let's end with wheeled lights and how they differ from versatile tracked ones. Vehicles in the EBR branch have a poor view range that stops them from scouting passively at a distance. But they do have good concealment, high speed, and wheels galore. Even if one or several of them are damaged, you'll still be able to get about. That's why wheeled lights are active Scout Supremos. They draw fire and dance under a storm of shells, lighting the enemy up in the process. At the higher tiers, wheeled lights have two movement modes, Rapid with excellent top speed, and Cruise. In Cruise mode, the tank uses all its wheels to whirl like a dervish. These wheeled tanks pack penetrative HE shells that tear paper-thin enemies to shreds. Basically, wheeled tanks are very active, aggressive raiders. You'll need a very particular set of skills and practice to play in them, though. If you're less experienced, learn standard lights first. And that's it. Share this video with a friend who can't last a minute in battle. See you on the battlefield.